Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Radium and today I have another Terraria video for you, where today I'm going to be covering a guide for one of Calamity Mod's bosses, the Devourer of Gods. This is a boss that gets a lot of complaints for being biased in certain difficult modes within the game, especially Deathmode, which is a Calamity Mod extreme add-on, or a more advanced master mode if you will. It allows the boss to just be infamously difficult for many people, and so I've received a bunch of requests to do this fight. With that said though, let's get into the loadout coverage. When it comes to the armor you want to use for the Devourer of Gods, there's one very obvious choice, the Blood Flare armor. This armor is fantastic and gives you pretty much everything you could need, but if you're feeling like something of a sanist, go for the Omega Blue set. It gives you an incredible damage output at the cost of less defense and regenerative properties. In terms of loadouts, I've given two strong contenders for each class. The Terra Blade and Mirror Blade are good for melee, and all the other recommendations are quite valid. I've tried all of these weapons out and each of them work pretty well on the boss with class specific loadouts. In terms of accessories, there's only three main ones that you 100% need for this: the Daephic Amulet, Elysian Aegis, and Seraph Tracers. Those are the ones which I just cannot do this fight without, which vaguely comes down to personal preference, but I believe they are mandatory. Class-specific accessories are also incredibly useful here. I've given a couple of examples, but there are other things you could use here in place of these items, and they are just really helpful for increasing class-specific output. You most likely will have a couple more accessory slots free, so feel free to use any of these items to fill out those last few slots. In terms of an arena, which is the last thing we really need to cover, follow the dimensions in which I state, and it's quite a simplistic arena, honestly. With that said though, I think it's about time we move on to the actual battle, and I'll give you a rundown on my strategy. Okay everyone, this is a successful attempt against Deathmode Devourer of Gods. For this fight, I opted for a very offensive yet ranged loadout, because some people actually struggle with Ranger quite a bit, as it's seen as quite a difficult class to use for this battle. The first thing you may be noticing is I'm using the map setting where I have a translucent version of the map covering my entire screen. This is for good reason, as if you aim at the head or boss icon that appears on the map and hover your mouse over it, then you'll maximise your damage output. You'll see I'm absolutely shredding through the boss, using items I can use at the time as well, which is just crazy. The Septic Skewer is a drop from the old Duke, and I absolutely adore this weapon. So for any aspiring rangers, I'd 100% recommend this thing, it's amazing. Honestly, a lot of people have problems with this phase, but in my opinion, the best way of solving it is running in one direction, baiting the boss out, and then jumping and dashing in the opposite direction. That's all you need to do. There's nothing fancy involved. You don't even need to use a Rod of Discord or Normality Relocator for this phase, because if you do it like this, very uniform, and just repeating the exact same movement, then the boss will never be able to hit you. If you ever mess up, like I may struggle with occasionally, you've got the Rod of Discord and Normality Relocator for that, which will basically act as your item to patch up your mistakes. That was just an example of what I meant, but honestly the fight is not all that difficult. At least not this first phase anyways. You shouldn't really have any problems, and I defeated that phase on my first try, even when I hadn't any knowledge of Calamity. After you defeat the main worm, you have the three servants again: the Ceaseless Void, the Stormweaver, and Cygnus Envoy of the Devourer. These three are significantly weakened in terms of their health, and so you should be able to shred through all of them without taking too much damage. But there are methods you can do with them to try and take less damage and overall keep your health for the final phase. For the Ceaseless Void, my tip is run in directions but never go too far away from the boss. You want to make the boss fast, but the boss isn't very agile. So if you lure it, get it going quite quick, and then dash past it, you'll have about 10 seconds of free fire without even having to worry about the boss at all. I get caught in something of a string of attacks, I believe, in this battle, where I keep getting affected by the gravity pull effect, which is harmless enough, I can't really control it, And the boss does do a bit of damage to me, but that's completely okay, because after I defeat it, the next boss, the Stormweaver, in my opinion, would use as something of a recovery phase. If you run in one direction and just spam projectiles, you should be able to take care of the small drones. And apart from that, he doesn't really have a way of hitting you for about 15 to 30 seconds if you're lucky. So you can replenish you can replenish most of your health with a Blood Flare armor, honestly, because it's amazing. You'll see here I run out of platform. You can simply avoid that by building your platform longer. I was just a bit lazy, however, so that's the only issue. Technically speaking, if you were patient enough, you could go into the Cygnus fight with full health, but I never see the point in doing so, because it isn't all that difficult. In terms of the Cygnus fight, though, the best method I find is doing something of a figure 8, or an oval in this case, because I was, again, feeling a bit daring, despite having an extremely offensive loadout. He falls extremely quickly, and if you're optimizing DPS, he should fall before he can even use his second attack. But if he does, continue dashing when he charges at you. Now we are entering the final phase of the fight. This is amazing fun, it's just so enjoyable to do. And you'll see the Septic Skewer melting the boss. You will not do this much damage, I'm just going to say, because I am using the Reaper Tooth Necklace and a bunch of damage increasing accessories for me. This means that I take a lot more damage, and in fact the Reaper Tooth Necklace halves your defense for the sake of 100 increased armor penetration and 25% increased damage. You guys just saw a barrage of the laser attack he does. It's an extremely difficult attack to dodge in some scenarios, because I got very unlucky there. You'll see me using the Rod of Discord. Try to refrain from using it as much as possible. And when he goes invisible to do his laser barrage, the best thing to do is sprint in one direction and dash as you jump to go through the gaps in between the lasers. I know it's a lot to take in, and that was extremely lucky in which you just witnessed, but the fight comes with practice, and you cannot do this fight just from watching this guide. You'll need to do what I'm doing here. You learn from experience when to dash, and watching this guide 100 times and using the absolute best gear won't net you a guaranteed win. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is with an insta-kill boss. Because, unless I didn't mention it yet, which I don't think I have, the boss has a one-hit attack. It does a lot of damage from any of the attacks, but if the boss's head hits you, you instantly die. It doesn't regard invincibility frames or accessories with dodging capabilities. You really just have to keep going at it, honestly. It's very difficult to deal with. But whatever happens, take hits if it means you get to avoid their head. You're witnessing what's going to be the final phase of the fight now. A god does not fear death. He will become extremely aggressive in this phase. If you want my advice, take any hits you have to, as long as you avoid their head. And you'll see I absolutely obliterated him, which was somewhat unfair, but I think it's perfectly valid, because that's the sacrifice that comes with losing defense for offense. With that done, guys, I just have to say thank you all so much for watching this video. I really hope this guide helped those who really wanted the help. And I know it's very much a change of pace from the continued Midas Prodigy and Subnautica videos I've been doing, but I just figured I'd upload something which was closer to the roots of my content. And as Calamity Mod is getting revamped soon, I figure I'd make a guide for one of the bosses that isn't getting changed. On that note though, I just have to say thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.